Joe Drilling, and I'm ready for some video pinball.
This is horrifying video pinball because this is the 31 nights of Halloween. Nights or days? I don't remember.
I mean, we don't play games during the day.
It's true.
It used to be days because we'd post articles. I would always try to post the articles in the morning, so it used to be 31 days. But now that it's turned into live streams,
31 nights of Halloween. Here we go. This is Pinball of the Dead for the Game Boy Advance. It's House of the Dead, but pinball, I guess.
I mean, Kirby got one, Metroid got one,
Why not House of the Dead?
Pokemon got one,
Yep.
Mario got one,
Speed, fast, slow.
Sonic got one. Like
Blood color: green, white, blue, red.
red, the red groovy. Video well, brother.
Clear all data, background music. We want that on for sure. There's one thing I know about the Game Boy Advance is that it has excellent sound chip. An excellent sound chip.
Everything is still very quiet, I'm gonna say.
Okay. There's literally not anything I can do about it. Also, I don't think I believe you, but
Turn on the audio of the. I can
did
hear
last
you.
night and it sounded okay, so I think maybe you have your browser turned way down or something in your mixer. Possibly.
That's
I don't know.
possible.
I'm not fucking around with it anymore. We're not doing the technical difficulties stream. It is what it is, baby. Hole 1, Nkageo. Normally, the boss becomes ready by defeating all of... Oh no, I skipped the cutscene. Shoot! I can't see, there's a thing in the way. Okay, there we go.
You're supposed to shoot at the guy with the... You're supposed to shoot at the zombie with the crosshairs when you shot the
I
ball.
didn't see that crosshair.
That was the...
I'm too busy
It
watching
was...
the guy.
It was... Crosshair was pretty big. I'm just gonna put that out there. So this is like Devil's Crush, but it looks like ass because they decided to go with like Donkey Kong Country style pre-rendered sprites.
How dare you? Killing these zombies.
Yeah. Sorry, I
Why
think
is there... What's up with this? Oh my goodness. Alright.
what?
Well, there's just like the ball keeps going back into the side thing where it came out of.
Yeah.
It just doesn't seem like great table design.
No.
Not that
I
I'm
was
an expert on these things.
on
But
that.
bonus. Okay, I see. There, I hit him that time.
Good job. Suffer like
Mystery.
G did.
Super Jets. What?
Sorry, was that two? Were those separate ideas, or are they super mystery
I don't
jets?
know what that means.
Either.
I've played House of the Dead.
Yeah,
I like House of the Dead.
and you've played pinball.
Yeah, House of the Dead 2 is a fine video game.
Yes. Did you choose this because official word came out today that they're remaking House of the Dead 1 and 2 for modern systems?
Yeah, sure, why not?
Yeah, there you go.
No,
I don't know.
This seemed like a weird thing to play.
It is a
weird that
weird
it
thing.
exists.
Yeah, I mean, well, like I said, there's a Mario pinball and a Kirby pinball and a Pokemon pinball and a Sonic spinball and
Yeah, well,
You know.
spinball is significantly different than pinball.
well, it's just because Sonic is the ball. Although Kirby is the ball in Kirby
Sucks.
pinball, isn't he?
Yeah, I believe Kirby is a ball. I think the Pokemon is a Pokeball.
Right, because there's a Pokemon pinball and a yeah. There's more than one Pokemon pinball, isn't there? Maybe not. I don't know.
I don't know if I'm...
How does this stack up to Motley Crue's Crew Ball?
I'm making these zombies blow up, so that's kind of fun. There's quite a bit going on this table, but
There's no chiptune version of Dr. Feelgood.
no, that sucks. But what's kind of like the hardest thing for me is that it just seems like the ball just keeps coming straight back. Like when I get it up into the upper levels, the ball kind of comes straight back down, and this is the flippers.
The ball physics don't feel great. There's maybe one of the triggers or something,
Yeah, I was
like
thinking
tilt.
there might be a tilt. I don't know. Mystery. Super kickback.
Super kickback. So I mean, again, is the mystery separate from the super kickback, or
Seems like up on the D-pad maybe is a tilt.
yeah, yeah. Well, don't tilt too much, or you will actually tilt.
I don't know, is that a thing in this game?
I mean, I assume
Supposedly
so.
there's
I
3
guess I don't know
tables.
for sure.
But
Yeah,
may
you have to get the bosses to appear or whatever.
Yeah.
Probably first. Maybe there's a cheat code.
Nightmare! That was pretty scary.
Yeah.
Nothing happened.
You ever gonna tell anybody what that fucking G stands for?
G-string.
Agent
Nothing but a
G
G.
string.
So do you think I have to clear out all the zombies to get the boss?
I think you have to
appear?
probably clear out. Yeah, well, that's what it said, right? At the beginning, is you have to clear out a certain number of enemies to get the. The hit detection seems a little bit wonky on some of these enemies. I'm not gonna lie.
Honestly, the worst thing about this game is just the ball looks really.
Ball.
It
Yeah, it
doesn't
doesn't.
look like
It
it's
doesn't look like it's
moving at
rolling.
all. It's
Yeah,
just a
yeah.
static sprite that's kind of rolling around. It also seems very muddy, so while this is totally playable on an emulator on a PC with a nice bright monitor, it seems like it might be kind of hard to see what was happening on a Game Boy Advance screen.
Well, actually, I was just gonna say it does feel very bright for a handheld for a horror game. So I think this is probably before the lit GBA models were out. I'm guessing
maybe,
because
yeah.
everything looks very garishly bright colored.
Oh no, game over. I lost.
You did.
Ranking.
You can give it another try before
Yeah,
I
I
look
mean-
to see if there's a code to skip to the next
I'd like
table.
to see what the other tables are if possible.
All right, that's what I'm saying.
But yeah, I'll load it up here. I'll try and pay closer attention. Also, maybe there's a story reason why this is taking place on a original sin. The pinball of the dead. Wonder if challenge mode lets me pick a table. You think? No. Mystery. Shield 45 seconds.
Who could do such a thing?
Who could do such a thing? There's also something with this clock, and I'm not sure. It seems like maybe I should be able to do something with. Oh, it moves when I hit kill the zombies. It looks
The
like.
clock does.
Yeah.
Well, that ramp is lit under that house on the right. If you can get in there, it's like flashing at you. There you
Chaos.
go. Chaos.
It's maybe it's just because I can't see the whole table, but I feel like these things pop up and then nothing actually changes on the board at all. This is death up there. Yeah, killing these zombies is definitely making the clock move. I don't know. I have the same problem with this game that I do with most video pinballs, that pinball is just not fun without some form of tactile feedback. It's sort of video game pinball always just sort of accentuates the bad part of pinball, which is the part where you're just kind of waiting.
Well, the
Something
more
to happen.
insane it is, the more I'm into it. So like this stuff like this where there's zombies walking around the table, so stuff that you would never see on a real pinball table, like when
Yeah.
they try to do a real, like make it like a real pinball table, that's where I'm like, this is dumb.
Yeah, but well, so like the best thing about playing pinball is just that tactile feedback you get when the ball smacks against
Yeah.
the flippers,
Yeah.
and when you take that away, this doesn't really work for me.
Yeah.
I almost got it to 6 o'clock here. Escape, death. Also, there's like 16 numbers around the outside of the clock, which seems.
It's
I mean,
16 o'clock, man.
Yeah, I guess I don't know enough about the. Oh, wow, let's barely say that one. I guess I don't know enough about the like orbit of the planet that House of the Dead takes place on to know.
I mean, the implication seems to be that it takes place on Earth, so...
Yeah, well, if it has a 16-hour day, I'd say that it's some alternate timeline Earth. Because I mean, time is relative, man. You could make an hour anything. If you really think about it, you know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, totally. We do a bong rip here real quick and back to you on that.
I mean, it's 9 o'clock. We're getting there.
Hmm.
I wonder if you have to go all the way around, because it looks like it's actually going from midnight to 1. Here we go. Oh, I got it up in there. Something flashed.
Yeah, you got it out the other. I don't. I'm gonna take a gander at an FAQ here for you.
I mean, as far as video pinball tables go, this one's actually pretty interesting. There's kind of a lot of stuff going on. Killing zombies is alright, I guess.
I mean, everybody loves killing zombies.
There's obviously some thing I'm supposed to be trying to accomplish that I'm not quite getting there. Oh, I get it to 3 on the number dial here. I don't know what that means, but I did. Must be these zombies have HP and the ball has like a damage number associated with how fast it's traveling. Because sometimes it takes one hit and sometimes the ball's going faster. Or if the ball's going slow, it takes multiple hits.
So... I might have bad news for you.
Uh-oh.
There does not seem to be there does not seem to be a listing at all for, oh, there it is. Because it's not House of the Dead Pinball, it's Pinball of the Dead.
Pinball of the Dead,
Right,
right.
okay.
Important distinction.
So I searched for House of the Dead and it wasn't coming up, and I was like, that's good. All right, let's see here. There are passwords, alternate way for boss mode, movie test mode.
That's not awkwardly written at all.
No, final challenge versus Emperor. So they get some passwords if we want to see the end, I guess.
I mean, we might as well at least check out something else here.
Well, there are not.
Bonus. Look at that drippy font. You can tell it's almost Halloween.
That's right.
Shot him right in his dumb neck that time. Mystery.
Smoke Monster
Bonus
says
hold.
G. Suffer like G did.
I have to hurry. I have to start the chaos over again? Come on.
Yeah, man, if you lose a ball, you gotta start all the stuff over. So, speaking of Houses of Deads, I started watching the new Creepshow series on AMC the first episode came out last week, so I watched the first. The second one came out today. I haven't had a chance to watch it yet because I'm watching Peaky Blinders with my wife. So we were watching that earlier, but I think depending on how late we're doing this, I might watch the second episode of Creepshow this week, but the first one was pretty good.
Is there a
I had
big
fun
tar
with it.
blob?
There is no, not yet. Well, actually, kind of. But it's pretty good. It's not based on the one episode I've seen. So each episode seems to be 2 stories, which seems weird. I don't know why you wouldn't just make them half-hour episodes and put out. You know what I mean? Like it's
Yeah.
basically 2 half-hour episodes in one episode, but it's one episode, which is weird. But anyways, so the 2 stories in the first one, I liked one more than the other, but it seemed like people liked the one I didn't like quite a bit. And I liked them both. I mean, I didn't think the one that I liked less. So the one that I liked more is a Stephen King story called Gray Matter.
Mm-hmm.
And it stars Adrian
One day it may
Barbeau
matter.
and yes, it actually is going to matter very much. But it stars Adrian Barbeau and Tobin Bell and Giancarlo Esposito. And they're all good. That's also weird. They front-loaded the first episode with a bunch of like pretty famous people, especially if you're into horror. Like Tobin Bell is in all the Saw movies. Adrian Barbeau was married to John Carpenter. She was in, I mean, a million. You know, she was in the original Creep Show. She was in Swamp Thing. She was in The Fog. She was in, you know, she was in Escape from New York. I mean, she's been in a ton of stuff, right? So.
What do you think? Which of these passwords do you think I should enter here?
Do the
Alternate
alternate
way
way,
for boss
yeah,
mode?
alternate way for boss mode.
What the fuck does that?
Pepsi for TV game.
Yeah, this
so-
is unparsable, that sentence.
Yeah. So that one is based on a Stephen King story that doesn't take place in Maine, believe it or not. But it was sort of similar to sort of similar, but definitely not congruent to the Lonesome Death of Jordy Verrill from the first Creep Show movie. Kind of. And then the second story is called House of the Head, and it's about this little girl who has like a haunted dollhouse, basically. And that's one I didn't like quite as much, but it was still, it felt like Creep Show. It felt like those old EC comics that inspired the original Creep Show, which sort of in turn, I feel like the original Creep Show, even though it took many years, like I feel like it had a certain amount to do with the Tales from the Crypt Show on HBO becoming a series, you know. It's not Twilight Zone good. It's not Tales from the, which like those are sort of the 2 anthology shows that I feel like are held up as like kind of the gold standard, is obviously the Twilight Zone and, you know, maybe less obviously, but still pretty obviously Tales from the Crypt, because not only was Tales from the Crypt on HBO, which meant that it could do whatever it wanted, it also had a ton of famous actors like Tales from the Crypt. You know, it was a parade of big stars. And a lot of really well-known filmmakers. You know, Robert Zemeckis directed episodes of Tales from the Crypt and stuff, so it's like, you know, this very well-known sort of anthology show. And I don't think this show so far, and again, this is based on one episode, so like it's hard to say for sure, but I'm not getting like, oh, this is like Tales from the Crypt level good. Definitely not Twilight Zone level good, because also it's not trying to say anything in the way that Twilight Zone says something. Not that every episode of Twilight Zone necessarily says something, but the best ones do. Right? So,
Boss mode.
but I still like it. I had a lot of fun with it. Suffer like G did. That did not go well. Snarkcast says, did you finish watching AEW? Because I tweeted last night that I got to the main event and then I had to go to bed because I had to work this morning. So no, I did not. I have not yet finished. That's the other thing that I'm going to do.
Rest of the show?
It was good. I actually got spoiled on a little bit of it, so like this is not licensed to just start talking in the chat about what happened after the main event, but I've read some of the stuff, or the kind of the big thing that happened after the main event, which is that Jack Swagger shows up in some capacity.
Oh, good.
Which I thought was weird, and a lot of people were, and I'd kind of gotten spoiled on that before because there were rumors that like, oh, a former WWE champion's going to show up, and I saw an image like of Jack Swagger, and I was like,
Former WWE champion showing up. Jack Swagger not really high on my list of guys I
yeah,
would like to see
right.
show up.
But the show was good. I thought the opening match, the first ever AEW television match was nice. The first ever AEW televised match was Cody versus God, what's his name? Sammy Guevara. Yeah, thanks, Snarkast. Sammy Guevara, who's like a cruiserweight, indie dude from I think he's from California, and it was good. I kind of, the way they were presenting it, I kind of thought that they might put Guevara over because they kept saying like, oh, this is going to have. So one thing that I don't love and that I think they're going to stop doing before long because eventually it will mess with your booking plans, but they show guys win-loss records when they come out.
All right.
And right now, when everybody's like 2-0 or like 1-1 or like
10 years from now when people are like
whatever.
197 and 203 or whatever.
Right. Like you don't want, because then it's hard, especially a heel who maybe loses all the time, but does a lot of damage or cheats a lot, or even a babyface who's got like a 50-50 record. It's hard. It would be hard to storyline justify like, yeah, we're going to give them a title shot, because then the response is just like, well, their record is, they're like 102 and 107. They have a losing record here at AEW. Why would they get a title shot?
Does that mean? I mean, I guess if you're going to do that, you would like designate seasons like you do in professional sports, and then reset the records at some point.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, that
that
wouldn't be terrible.
It makes sense to have lifetime records for boxers or UFC fighters because they don't fight very often. But in something like professional wrestling where it happens all the time, it would make more sense to like designate a whatever.
Yeah.
This time next year, everybody's record resets, and then that's when you can reset your stars.
Then you can push new guys.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, so they that I don't love that, but yeah, they made a big deal out of like, oh, if Sammy Guevara wins, like, what's that going to do to the title picture? What does that mean that Cody would be out of his title match versus Chris Jericho at the next pay-per-view in November?
Tell us, announcers.
Right, and that kind of stuff. And so it was very. It felt to me in some ways like they were kind of setting it up that Guevara was going to win. And then they would have to address the title picture because Guevara pulled this huge upset on Cody. But then they ended up just Cody made Guevara look really good. He put him over big time, but they gave the Duke to Cody, which makes sense, I guess.
So what was it, 2 hours, an hour? What?
It's 2 hours. I don't know if it's always going to be, because I thought I'd heard initially that it was going to be an hour, so I don't know if it was just 2 hours because it was the first one, and that's going to be an hour going forward, or if they decided that because WWE's like going with a full frontal assault here, that they decided they were just going to up it to 2 hours. That I don't know. But I think 2 hours is a fine time for a wrestling show. Also, this one didn't go like 20 minutes over like WWE shows do. And apparently it did better viewership than the live NXT that opposed it on USA. So I don't know.
What a mistake that is.
Yeah, I don't love that at all. And I don't think that necessarily means anything long term, because I think there's probably a lot of people who are just like, whoa, wrestling's back on TNT again. I got to check this out. That the ball got hung up in a weird way, and you got a really easy kill on those first two heads.
Did that breakout shit.
Yeah, right.
I was definitely trying to do that also.
There was some good. It was in DC, and there was like a pretty good promo with SoCal Uncensored standing in front of the White House, which was pretty fun. The women's match was Nyla Rose versus Miho, and I thought they would put Nyla Rose over, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, you'd think they would push Dark Souls before they'd push Neo, but...
right. So, but they put Miho... I mean, part of it, I think, for me, I looked at that and
I know
I was
you're a
like,
Sekiro fan, but...
Right.
It's
Yeah.
not
I
right
looked at
yet.
that and I was like, I feel like you would put Nyla over as this monster heel and then put Mio on the chase for the next month or two or up to the next pay-per-view or whatever. But they first ever women AEW women's champion is Mio.
Cool.
It's really nice to hear Jim Ross calling wrestling again, honestly. Like,
Cool.
it's really nice to.
I wish I won pay-per-view and he was not super comfortable calling women's matches, but maybe
He seemed
was-
better. He
was
seemed better
not-
on the women's match last
seemed
night.
just impressed that women could wrestle.
Right. Yeah, he was much better. And I actually was really. I don't know much about Jim Ross's socio-political outlook. I didn't listen to his podcast very much, but I will just say that based on his age and his sort of general demeanor, I was very surprised that he did not mention Nyla Rose being transgender. He did not misgender her one time that I heard or noticed, and my ears were kind of perked up for that. And he called the match pretty much like any other match. I mean, they must have told, because I saw people saying that after one of the pay-per-views, and I'm going to guess that someone said something to him like, Jim, you got to call it like like any other match. You can't do that, and it's or whatever. Or maybe he saw the criticism online and just decided that he didn't want to be perceived that way or whatever it was. But I didn't feel like he was calling it like it was a novelty.
Yeah, I mean,
Or like
I
it was
said,
different than
when
a men's
I brought
match.
it up the first time was just that it's hard to tell if that's him bringing that or just like the training of him having called all those totally
Garbage.
inconsequential women's matches in WWE or some combination of the two.
Yeah.
But
I mean, it's hard to teach an
that's
old
good.
dog new
That's
tricks,
fine.
but
I mean, it seems like women's wrestling is going to be an important part of that show. So
right. Yeah, they had Britt Baker on commentary with them, which was nice. I will say that
the
it is
dentist?
not. Yes.
She either needs to
it-
lean way into that or find something else, in my
Right.
opinion. But
Yeah. I would say that it was not nice to hear Tony Schiavone back on commentary. I don't
Oh, come
understand that. He's bad. He's bad. He's always been bad. I think he has higher highs than Michael Cole, but he also has lower lows than Michael Cole. And he just felt like he was on autopilot, honestly. Like Jim Ross felt like he was stoked to be doing this again, on weekly TV, calling professional wrestling. And Tony Schiavone just felt like he was cashing a paycheck to me. And then they had a guy in a mask as the third man on their commentary team, because that was weird. Because at first I was like, why do you have two straight commentary guys and then just one color guy? But yeah, Excalibur, yeah, that's his name. Dude in a mask. Not familiar with who he is or who he was before, or why he wears a mask to do commentary.
man, these
But-
TBA FMVs are real good.
Yep, yes they are.
I guess they're just all the boss intros. I thought maybe
yeah,
there'd be
looks
some
like it.
story stuff, but
Smoke Monster says, how close are you to being able to play WWF WrestleFest, and will you stream it? My good man, QC Retro has sent me my minigun 2.1. So whenever it gets here from Quebec, then I will be able to play it. And yes, I will stream it. And Smoke Monster, when you say, oh, sweet, I think what you really mean is that's just too sweet. But anyways, so I watched up to the beginning of the main event, and that's when I turned it off. But the hour and 40 minutes of the show that I watched, I liked.
okay.
I will give it a chance. I will DVR it again next week or watch it on demand or whatever. The SoCal Uncensored stuff was good. There's a tag team title tournament going on right now, so they're going to be facing the Lucha Brothers, which is Phoenix and Pentagon Jr., and they did a little skirmish, a pull apart spot in front of the live crowd, which was cool.
It's pretty good.
Yeah. The thing that I just don't, my concern at this point if I can give voice to it, especially with the news that Jack Swagger showed up at the end of the show, is the perception of TNA. So I don't know how many, not that many people are watching this right now. It's probably people are watching right now. You know, probably all remember this if they're into wrestling, but like, if you're a younger person who's watching wrestling, you probably don't remember that. But from Jump Street, TNA had always felt like it was the place for WWE cast-offs. Or guys from WWE who wanted an easier schedule. Right. And I think AEW has a chance to not be that. But Snarkcast says they were also part of an 8-man tag last night. I don't. Was it a dark match? Because I don't have much left in the broadcast from what I've been watching, and it doesn't. And they were already announcing, I think, Jericho and like LAX. So, oh, okay. Snarkcast says, yeah, it was one of the 3 dark matches. I'm sure it was very good. So it will hurt them, I think, if it appears that they're top of their card. Like, I get why you put the title on Jericho to start your TV show. There were people who groused about that when it happened, and it's like, look, man, we're going back to Nationwide. You want somebody that wrestling fans know for sure. There is no way that you are a wrestling fan in 2019 and do not know who Chris Jericho is, because he has been a star for 20 years. Right. But going forward, maybe you want to get more guys bigger into the mix, and you don't want your headliners to all just be dudes who used to be in WWE 5 years ago and aren't now, like Jack Swagger and Cody, and Chris Jericho was in WWE more recently than 5 years ago. But like, you know, put Kenny Omega Kenny Omega's he's feuding with Jon Moxley, so. And Moxley feels different, right? Because with Swagger and with Cody, and as much as I like Cody and I think Cody's good, like, he hasn't been in WWE for so long. You know what I mean? Moxley came right from WWE, like, immediately. So
right. Also, the perception of those guys is that they're both really good and maybe didn't get opportunities that they deserve in WWE.
Right.
Whereas Jack Swagger just isn't, like, he's like the opposite of that. He's like a so-so guy that got more opportunities than he deserved. Yeah, right.
I agree with that assessment. We'll see. I don't know. I thought he was doing MMA because he won like 2 of his 3 first MMA matches or something like that. So I thought that was his path now. I guess not. But we'll see. I'm still bullish on AEW. Yeah. And I liked the show. That's something that I worry about, is like they have to strike a balance between creating new stars and not just putting WWE cast-offs to the top of the card. They can't do that, or it's not going to work out. I don't think. Which again, like the ladies, that's obviously not the case. Neither of the ladies who were in the title match last night have ever been part of WWE that I can think of, that I'm aware of. You know, Britt Baker's never been in WWE. Was Phoenix? Did Phoenix have a cup of coffee in like NXT at one point? I don't remember. I don't know. But either way, you know, Pentagon Jr.'s never been in WWE. Starcast
so there's
isn't
a
sure
tutorial
either.
in this that tells you what all the different things on the stages do.
Yeah, you skipped it last time. Remember?
Well, I mean, I thought it would just be like, hit right to activate the right flipper, hit whatever to activate the left flipper, but
yeah. So you know,
that's cool.
There you go. I'm interested. The other thing that I think is good is that WWE has illustrated that they tend to be at their best when there is legitimate competition, and I think that it is hard to deny at this point that this is legitimate competition.
I mean, kind of.
I mean, it did better than the show they put up against it. You know, it did.
I'm not sure that
it's on a major cable station. It's got the Khan family have real fucking deep pockets. Like, it's not, right. You know what I mean? This is not, Dixie Carter and Panda Energy or whatever. Like, they're not. I mean, they're wealthy by our standards, but they're not wealthy by Vince McMahon standards, and the Khan family is wealthy by Vince McMahon standards. Um, so I think that will help WWE potentially get better, and I'm interested to see where AEW goes from here. I think they can do, I think there's a lot of potential there, and the best thing to do is to not have the top of the card dominated by WWE cast-offs. I think that's going to be a very important thing going forward. But I mean, like I said, a lot of the show was not that. I'd never seen Guevara before. He was good. I'd never seen Mio before. She was good. The women's match was good. The women's match was, from what I've watched so far, the women's match was probably the best part of the show. If you're just a WWE fan and now you're coming over to see what AEW is about, you're not going to be familiar with Kenny Omega. You're not going to be familiar with SoCal Uncensored. You're not going to be familiar, even though they were in Ring of Honor and they were in TNA for a long time. You're not going to be familiar with LAX, but they're not called LAX anymore, but whatever they're called now. So I think there is a lot of potential there, and I also love seeing Christopher Daniels get and Kazarian to maybe a slightly lesser extent, but seeing Christopher Daniels get some FaceTime on national TV is aces, in my opinion. So yeah, I don't know. I would say give it if you get a chance to watch it on demand or whatever, however you might find a way to watch it. I would say give it a watch.
Okay.
You watched the pay-per-views. I hadn't watched any of the pay-per-views though, and you had. So I mean, you have a sense of that, I guess, from watching the pay-per-views. But.
Yeah, it was all right. I just don't think I'm that interested in wrestling in general at the moment. So.
Yeah.
I'll get you, she says. I figured if you could just go to normal mode, you can just pick the table that you want to play.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was gonna ask how you. I saw the table selection. I was gonna ask how you manage that.
So, the song on this level is pretty good, let me tell you. But yeah, that's good. I'm glad. I mean, I hope that there's some good. It's been a while since there's been a good weekly wrestling show to watch, like a really long time.
I mean, NXT was good for a while,
Okay,
but
fair enough. But
but
that's
now
not
that it's
a
2 hours
not
long,
a broadcast television show. That's just that was
no,
a
it is
network
now.
show.
It is now.
And it sounds like people weren't real happy with what it was, but
I actually haven't watched it since it's only been 2 weeks. This is just the second week, I think. Of
I don't know.
I mean, I'm gonna watch SmackDown on Friday. I think tomorrow. Friday.
You get to see Brock Lesnar.
See,
See,
I
it's
really-
working,
I am-
Joe. That's why they pay him the big bucks. Let him be
That's
champion
not-
and never wrestle because he brings in the viewers like you.
that's not why I'm watching. I'm not watching to see Brock Lesnar.
That's why Vince McMahon thinks you're watching.
I mean, maybe.
It's all
I
that
won't
matters.
I won't keep watching if that's if it becomes the Brock Lesnar show. I won't keep watching.
Oh man, could they just turn into a campy '90s sitcom starring Brock Lesnar? That I might watch.
That could be fun.
No,
It could be.
terrible. Hey, it's Anthony.
Hey, it's
Hey.
Anthony.
What do you think about all this
Hey.
wrestling stuff going on?
I'm gonna leave if that's what you're talking about.
That's
That's what
we
we're
were
talking about.
But I think we're done talking about that.
Sweet.
I
I'll
think we
stay
might be
then.
done streaming in a minute here too. 'Cause there's not a lot
I would
left.
say there's not a lot left.
Dead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I gotta say, I mean, I know I said it at the beginning. I don't hate pinball, but I hate the pre-rendered 3D
It's not- well, it
graphics
doesn't look
turned
good.
into sprites.
Doesn't look very good.
Okay, where can people watch this stream?
On Mixer.com.
Mixer.com/on the stick.
That's right. Of course, the only way you would hear that answer is if you're already watching,
Right. But I think
Well, or
that-
if you're you.
right.
or if you're me, and it worked.
Try that some.
Oh, this game looks bad.
It looks.
It
pretty
looks
bad.
it looks bad. Yeah, that's what I'm
I
saying.
mean, remember, this is a Game Boy Advance game,
Oh, okay.
so normally
well,
you'd be playing it on a very dimly lit screen that's much smaller than.
that's
what you're
very
seeing it
tiny.
on, so,
Yeah.
I actually
I'm-
think of all the video, there's a lot of kind of cool stuff going on with these tables.
Yeah, it looks like it. This just looks like ass because it's
Yeah.
awful pre-rendered 3D graphics turned into sprites, and
Right.
I get when Donkey Kong Country came out. I was there. I was like, wow, that looks pretty cool. but it has aged terribly. And I feel like by the time this game came out, everybody already knew. Like by 2002, everybody figured it out that pre-rendered 3D turned into sprites looks like shit. So let's not do that. Like I'm lost at like if you play Shock Troopers 2 for the Neo Geo, like Shock Troopers 1 is a really good looking game. I mean most games on the Neo Geo look pretty good. Shock Troopers 1 looks really good. And then Shock Troopers 2 they did this stupid Donkey Kong Country thing and it looks garbage.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple that's like that style of graphics also needs to be seen on a CRT TV to a certain extent for it to make sense. Like when you add in scan lines and like.
Well, this was a Game Boy Advance game, so
yeah, I know,
it was
but I'm
always
just
on
saying
an
that,
LCD.
Like that style of graphics looks a lot better on a TV than it does on a CRT monitor.
It's not really much of a defense, but I know.
I'm not saying it's a defense. I'm just saying.
No. What I'm about to say
Okay.
is not much of a defense of this, but I know like with 2.5D games that a good chunk of people don't really care for.
Hi.
Yeah.
You mean
Yeah, 'cause they
polygonal
don't look
2D
good.
games? They're not 2.5D games. They're just 2D games with polygons instead of sprites.
Yeah, right. Those are
Some
sometimes
of us
like
don't like
that's
the
like sort of a
naming
condition of
convention.
that game's development being funded in the first place.
Yeah.
Sure.
And so
Sure.
like same with something like this, I'm sure that like this was part of the pitch that it would look kind of like that or draw from
Kind of
this
like
sort
House
of
of the
graphical
Dead.
style.
Right. Yeah. Vaguely
And
like
then
House of the
yeah,
Dead.
and then it was like, okay, well like we're sort of on the edge about whether this is like something that's gonna be profitable in any way, and so like I don't know, it's like a deal with the devil. Like
Sure.
I said, it's not really like
It's
a
not
defense.
it's a justification, not a defense.
It's a justification for why, but it's like you might not have this pinball
or maybe
game
they
at
just
all.
thought it looked dope. I don't know.
Well, at this
Yeah,
point,
right,
A lot of,
yeah,
video,
maybe-
games,
maybe
a lot of
guys-
video games looked like this back then.
Right.
Yeah,
At
maybe.
this point, 2.5D is generally cheaper than
Yes, right.
drawing individual art assets. The way, like, I don't know how much Hollow Knight cost to make,
Right.
but I'm betting it was a lot.
It was a long
You know.
time.
Yeah, I would guess that.
It took a long time. Yeah. Well, if you're paying people for a long time, that's a lot of money. You know what I mean? Even if it's only a few people. You know, but I saw a thing not that long ago where someone was like, you know, why don't all indie games look like Metal Slug? And they were like, because Metal Slug had like a full dedicated
Right.
art
It had-
department.
Yeah,
10
right.
Like-
artists that worked full time for a couple of years to build all those frames of animation. And as it turns out, it's expensive to employ an army of artists to just draw art constantly for years.
Right.
Who knew?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
crazy.
Shocking. Smoke Monster says AAA 2D games are hard to make. They are. I mean, most 2D games now don't even ones that you could fool you into
Are there any?
believing they really aren't.
Are there
AAA
any
2D games.
like actual AAA games? Not even in the sense of like it being a big commercial game, but just like the marketing budget required to be an actual AAA game. Is that? I don't even know if that's a. I'm trying to think of what the last one of those might have been.
Last 2D game? That
Now,
was,
the
yeah,
advantage
that
of those
was-
hands being oriented the way they are is when the ball falls down the pit, it's like you're waving goodbye to it.
Bye bye ball.
Bye, ball.
Bye.
Boy, what was the last
It's a good question, right?
2D game? I'm trying to think of I'm sitting here going like there must be one. I mean, it
Chrono
guess
Trigger?
depends on. Well, no, there's been some.
I mean, I'm talking about a
That's
Final Fantasy Tactics.
AAA.
2D game that got marketing budget that would be equivalent to a Call of Duty game or Zelda or something.
Symphony of the Night, maybe?
Was Final Fantasy Tactics has
Polygonal
the
backgrounds.
polygonal backgrounds? So that doesn't count. We're saying we're
don't
talking
know.
pure 2D.
What about like
completely 2D?
Minish Cap?
I don't feel like that. I feel like
That
games
would-
that are on
didn't get a
handhelds
AAA
by their
they didn't get a
nature.
AAA
Yeah.
Okay,
marketing
yeah, if it's
budget.
a yeah.
Also, like
I mean, it would
that
have to
different
be-
was like that. I don't know if that designation even made sense back then because like
That's also
the way
true.
games were advertised was a lot different. in
Well, and the way they were
90s
made
than-
was different
right,
too.
than
They were
than they have been over the last 20
game
years or
budgets
so.
now for what is considered a AAA game. The budgets are so much bigger than what
Right.
they were for even major games, in the 90s.
Right.
and
Well, and then I mean that's because it takes 4 teams of several hundred people to make an Assassin's Creed game in 2 years. Right.
Right. Yeah. I mean, from a visual perspective, from a game that could pass as a AAA game, I would say Hollow Knight or Cuphead.
Yeah.
Those are games that are 2D games that you look at them and you go, I believe this cost a lot
Just
of
like
money
George
to
C.
make,
Scott
and
and-
a lot of work went into this. And
Exorcist 3, you believe.
yes.
Um,
Smoke Monster says Cuphead seemed to be pretty popular too. Gorgeous, unbelievable looking game. Cuphead was amazing, and
Cuphead's
if I
great.
played more of it, I would have rated it higher the year it came out. But I hadn't played enough of it yet. But Cuphead is fantastic.
really like the zombie bouncing up and down and laughing at you when you miss.
Yeah. I am really excited for the Cuphead DLC when that finally comes out.
Did I tell you I went to the county fair and there were like Cuphead like stuffed animals
Oh,
to win
really?
as a prize?
You did not. I went to the Tennessee State Fair and I did not see any of those, but you did not mention that.
That's
to me.
fucking wild.
Yeah, I like saw it as
Wow.
I was walking out of the
Sure won one for
gate,
Miriam.
and it was like, well, yeah, like I would have gone to try if we weren't literally leaving.
All right, so let me guess what other prizes may have been at this fair that are video game related. I'm gonna say Fortnite. There was definitely Fortnite stuff there, right?
Yes, there were definitely llamas.
Okay.
Whatever.
I'm gonna say Minecraft. There must have been some
Probably.
Minecraft
I think
There
stuff.
must have
So.
been. Mario,
Must have been.
Was there Mario?
There was
and Zelda
Mario,
stuff?
yep.
Okay.
Sonic.
Probably. Yes, I think so.
Okay. Fuckers.
You're missing an obvious one.
Good night, Snarkast. We're probably not hanging around.
Yeah,
You're probably
I
not
don't
going
know
to miss
why- I don't know
much,
why
dude.
we're still streaming.
Talking about Anthony going to the county fair.
Yeah, talking about the
this is
county fair,
important.
which was like 2 months ago. But
So this
you
is
know, like,
weird because
like-
I went to the
like
we went to the
Call of
Tennessee
Duty?
State Fair.
You guys are missing Pokemon.
Oh, Pokemon.
Yeah, I was actually just gonna say Pokemon. But
Anything
Megan and
else?
I went to the Tennessee State Fair, and it wasn't very good. And I realized, and we both kind of simultaneously realized,
That's
like,
because it's a fair. Fairs all suck unless you're a
No,
kid or have
totally
kids.
do not.
Fairs fucking suck.
no,
yeah, I think
no
that's
way,
wrong.
dude. Yeah, that's
Was
wrong.
there a lot of like weird deep fried shit?
No, there wasn't.
Oh,
and the
what?
Wisconsin State Fair, my friend Nick, who blogs at dudefoods.com.
Is that still a going thing? Is he still doing that?
Yes,
That's
still
good.
doing that.
That's
He
good.
was a
It's still
judge.
Best name on the internet.
He was a judge in the Wisconsin State Fair Sporky Awards this year,
Boy.
where they get a panel of various like food people from around the Milwaukee area to eat the weird deep fried shit at the Wisconsin State Fair and decide which one is the best. And like, yeah, the only thing they have at the Tennessee State Fair is like they have your very standard like I got some
What is
cheese
it?
fries or
Okay,
whatever,
hold up.
but
Yeah.
they have the fried goo goo cluster.
What does that word
is
say?
their
BIGBU.
Big.
Now you scrolled off.
Yeah,
you
I
scrolled
did.
off the screen.
I was so busy trying to figure out what that word said that I scrolled it away. It's really good.
Big.
Big B-U... Big B-U-E...
Big
R-E.
R.
Yeah,
Big Brewery?
Buere.
What is
that a
that? Is that a
boss? I
thing?
think that's a boss from.
Look it up. Find out. Then
I'm
we'll
looking
end
it up
this
right
stream.
now. Big Brewery. Buere.
B-U-E-R-E. This is the worst stream on the internet.
This is the worst stream on the internet.
Play bad
not coming up with
video
anything.
game pinball and talk about wrestling and try and decipher.
I'm getting nothing on
I
that.
mean, is there
getting
some
nothing on
like?
the internet.
I don't know. I wondered if there was some. Maybe we're misreading it some way. Could it be a V instead of a U or something?
Maybe.
Go back up there.
I'm working on
Yeah, I
it.
mean,
That's a
B-I-G-B-U-E-R-E.
Nope, that's. I mean, those.
Okay.
That's what it
I'm gonna
says.
change my username to Big Burry.
Yeah, you should.
All right. I think that's enough of this game. Happy Halloween. We'll be back tomorrow with some other crap. Maybe Blair Witch if I can get it
Indeed.
to work with OBS. Hopefully.
Yeah,
Um,
that sounds good. I'm
check
interested in that.
game out. It doesn't sound like that game's actually that good. Which is
You can pet the
uh,
dog, apparently.
kind of a
So
disappointment because
That's important.
Smoke Monster says probably a typing of the dead typo. That's the reference.
all right, what word could that be then? Big Burger.
Big beer.
That's too many letters for beer and not enough for burger. I think.
Well, it's a typo, Eric.
Yeah, I mean, it's
Sky's the
typo.
limit.
It could be anything.
It's like you're typing big beer, but then your cat walked across the keyboard.
Yeah,
Big
there you
Ben.
go.
And name my next cat
Big-
Big Brewery.
I mean, if there's typos in this game, then anything can.
It's supposed to say Big Biore, and it's an ad for nose pore cleaning
Check out these
strips.
blackheads, dog.
Yeah,
It's the scariest thing of all.
Yep.
An up close view of your facial landscape. Woo! All right, that's it. I'm fucking done with this nonsense.
Good night, everybody.
Bye.
Big Bureau.
Big Barrow. And then in parentheses it says wheel.
Yeah. No, that's what the ball is. See?
It says big ball. It says big ballers. There was an early advertisement for Lorenzo.
Lorenzo Ball's
Yeah.
sneaker line or
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
Okay, sounds